The Mercer house did not feel like a home anymore. It felt like a crime scene that had never been properly cleaned. The porch railing was cracked where Daniel's body had hit it. The ceramic shards from the bowl were still embedded between the deck boards, overlooked during the chaos. Laura noticed them every time she stepped outside. She stopped going out there altogether. Daniel slept in the living room now. The pain in his ribs made climbing stairs unbearable, but that wasn't the real reason. Upstairs was where Emily kept waking up screaming. Upstairs was where Caleb's room sat untouched, his bed still made, his camera equipment gathering dust like evidence no one wanted to examine. Daniel stared at the ceiling most nights, replaying the sound of his son hitting the ground. Not the sight, the sound. Juvenile detention smelled like disinfectant and fear. Caleb had never been in trouble before. The guard seemed almost disappointed by that. There was nothing defiant about him, nothing hardened. He flinched when doors slammed. He apologized too often. The bruises on his chest had turned yellow and purple. His wrists still bore faint red marks from the cuffs. The public defender assigned to him, Angela Ruiz, was competent and exhausted. "They're charging you as a minor," she said carefully, sitting across from him in a small room with a scratched plastic table. "But they're pushing hard." "For what?" Caleb asked. His voice sounded smaller than he remembered. "Obstruction, assault on an officer, resisting arrest. I didn't touch them." Angela didn't contradict him. She didn't agree either. "Caleb," she said quietly, "do you remember exactly what happened before they grabbed you?" Caleb hesitated. "Yes, everything." He swallowed. "Before the camera fell," he said, "I heard one of them say something." Angela leaned forward. "What did he say?" Caleb closed his eyes. He said, "We've got another one who thinks he knows his rights." Angela exhaled slowly. "That matters," she said, "but proving it will be hard." When the body cam footage was finally released to the public, it arrived with a narrative already attached. The local police department held a press conference first. They stood behind a podium with the department seal, flanked by flags. The chief, a man with silver hair and an expression of practiced concern, spoke about context, officer safety, and split-second decisions. He emphasized that the family was cooperative at first. He emphasized that the neighborhood had been on edge. He emphasized that the officers involved had exemplary records. Then the footage was shown. It was chaotic, shaky, partial. The missing 47 seconds were explained away in a single sentence. A known camera malfunction. Most viewers didn't notice the gap. Those who did were told it didn't matter. Alder Ridge reacted the way safe communities often do when violence cracks their illusion. They defended the idea of themselves. "This isn't who we are," neighbors said. "I've known Officer Halvorsen for years," someone posted on Facebook. "He coached my son's soccer team. There must be more to the story. If they just complied." Laura stopped reading comments after someone wrote, "If even white families are getting treated like this, imagine how bad it is elsewhere." But still, something tells me we don't know the full truth. The sentence haunted her. Even white families. As if innocence were conditional. As if brutality needed justification. Emily stopped sleeping with her door open. She started sleeping with the lights on. At school, she flinched whenever a teacher raised their voice. She stopped talking in class. Her grades dropped, not dramatically, but enough to be noticed. The school counselor asked gentle questions. Emily said nothing. At night, she replayed the moment in her head, not as it happened, but as her brain had reshaped it. Sometimes her father never got up after the taser. Sometimes her brother didn't scream. Sometimes it was her they grabbed. She didn't know which version was worse. Daniel blamed himself for opening the door, for asking the question, for not stepping outside immediately, for raising his hands too late, for not being stronger, for surviving. He attended every physical therapy appointment. He followed every instruction. He smiled when doctors told him he was healing well. Inside, he felt hollowed out. He hadn't protected his family. That thought ate at him. Hannah Cole had left Alder Ridge years ago. She came back with a press badge and a sense that something about this case felt off. She watched the footage frame by frame. She read the officers' reports. She interviewed neighbors who contradicted each other without realizing it. Most importantly, she filed a public records request for Officer Mark Halvorsen's disciplinary history. What came back was thin. Too thin. Commendations. Training certificates. No complaints sustained. But Hannah had been a reporter long enough to recognize a polished file. So she dug sideways. She spoke to former officers, retired dispatchers, a clerk who had transferred departments after a bad experience. And slowly, quietly, a pattern emerged. Halvorsen had been involved in 6 use-of-force incidents in the past 5 years. None resulted in discipline. Each involved a civilian who was described as non-compliant. Each involved missing or corrupted footage. Each had been cleared internally. And in 3 of them, the civilian had tried to record. Hannah's editor told her to be careful. This department doesn't like scrutiny, he said. Neither do departments that have something to hide, Hannah replied. The Mercers didn't notice the shift at first. It started subtly. A police cruiser parked down the street for hours at a time. A traffic stop Daniel was subjected to for rolling through a stop sign. An anonymous report to Child Protective Services claiming Emily was emotionally unsafe. Laura cried when a CPS worker left. Daniel stared at the door long after it closed. Caleb, from detention, asked a single question during their next visit. Are they doing this to you? Laura lied. No, she said. Everything's fine. 2 weeks before Caleb's preliminary hearing, Hannah received an envelope with no return address. Inside was a USB drive and a note. Check the backup server logs. The logs told a story no press conference could explain. Officer Halvorsen's body camera had not malfunctioned. It had been manually disabled from a secondary device. At exactly 9:46 p.m., 1 minute before Daniel Mercer was shoved, Hannah felt her stomach drop. This wasn't excessive force spiraling out of control. This was preparation. Hannah brought the evidence to her editor. He stared at the screen. This will burn bridges, he said. It should, she replied. But publishing it would make her a target. And it would make the Mercer family one too. The system had already begun to close around them. And systems do not like being exposed, especially by the people they were never meant to harm. Caleb sat alone in his cell the night before the hearing. A guard walked by and paused. You know, the guard said casually, things go easier for kids who cooperate. Caleb looked up. Cooperate how? The guard smiled thinly. Say you overreacted. The door slammed shut. Caleb realized then that the truth wasn't just being buried. It was being replaced.